what to talk about today. And Larry and I had a little chat because he beat you all here prior to my letting you in. And I decided, based on that brief conversation, to talk about the great work of life and death. What happens when we die? I don't know. I can tell you what Buddhism says happens, and that is what I believe. But do I have the empirical scientific evidence that I can prove it to you beyond any doubt? No. So this is where faith comes in Buddhism. We don't often talk about faith on the Buddhist path because so much of it is try it out for yourself and see what happens, right? You don't have to have faith that meditation will calm you the you-know-what down. Just sit your butt down on the cushion and see what happens. But this is different, isn't it? Because we can't test it out. We don't have a way of knowing. And this is also on my mind because I read a science fiction short story yesterday, and it was about one god trying to overthrow another god on this distant universe. And I mean God with, small g, not like vast one God, creator of everything God, but more like God of that planet. And this new one wanted to move in on the old one, and there was a big skirmish, and the dust clears, the old God won. And he's talking with the only human, because the life on the planet's not human, who was there to help the usurper attempt to overthrow him. And they're talking about what happens when they die. And the God is saying, well, when the people in my dimension die, they merge back into me. I don't know what's going to happen to you. And I found that very interesting. And then he says, so are they completely absorbed by you? And he says, no, some part escapes, and I don't know where it goes. And the human's like, you don't know? And he says, no, I am a God and I don't know. And I just found that very fascinating. And this work, by the way, was written in the 1930s by a woman. Unusual to have a female science fiction author at that time. But I just found that very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very novel that she would include this in her story, and this great philosophical question that has troubled human beings since we came down from the trees, is what happens when we die. When we first started to understand that things, beings, people die and we don't see them again, we started to question, well, does some part remain? And she left that door wide open in her story, which I found to be interesting. But then she let us readers decide for ourselves what was going on there. In Buddhism, we don't have a God. We have bodhisattvas, who are closer to saints than gods. We have Buddhas, who are simply enlightened beings. They were human, and one day or evening or whenever, they had some sort of experience where they had the aha moment, and it stuck. Because we've all had the aha moment to some degree. Sometimes when sitting in nature and everything's perfectly still, and you realize, I haven't been thinking for a while, right? And then the moment's over because now you've made I and you're thinking again. But most of us have had these moments at some point in our lives. The difference between us and the Buddha is that his didn't then fade away, like at least mine tend to do. Because I have these aha moments, and then I'm like, oh, I had an aha moment. Damn, it's gone. That's my personal experience. Or sometimes it fades slowly over a course of a couple of weeks even. But fade it does. And because I got to go to work, and I got to feed my dog, and I got to do all this mundane stuff. And it's difficult to manage that. It takes some practice. So there's these Buddhas. We have our Buddha of our historical age, Siddhartha Gautama, but he's just one of a number of Buddhas. There are Buddhas before him. There will be Buddhas after him. There are different celestial Buddhas in various realms, but they're not gods either. So what happens when we die? One of the Buddhas, Amitabha, said that if you chant his name, that he will help you attain a good rebirth. Why is this important? Pardon the sound of my dog moving around. We want to have a good rebirth, meaning somewhere where we're human and we have all of our senses and we have access to a teacher and to the Dharma, and there's a Buddha in that age, and all of these different things come together to make what's called a precious human existence. We want that because I have a much better chance of waking up than my dog does. He's a very sweet little dog, and he has a very innocent quality to him. But that doesn't help him, because until you have to make the tough moral decisions that human beings have to make, there's no opportunity for growth. He doesn't have to make those decisions because he doesn't really know. He sees a possum, he chases it. God help him if he ever caught one, because they're bigger than he is. And he probably wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. He probably just wants to play. I don't think he wants to attack the thing. He's like, why won't you play with me? Bark, bark, bark. So he's got that kind of moral purity, but there's no then ethical decisions for him to use as a basis for growth. So we want to have that precious human existence, and we want to face these challenges because that's how we learn. So Amitabha said, I will help you and I will give you a rebirth in the Western Pure Lands if you chant my name. And Pure Land Buddhists do this, and a lot of Tibetan Buddhists, some Tibetan Buddhists do this, and a lot of Southeast Asian Buddhists, like in Vietnam and Sri Lanka, I believe, will chant to Amitabha. And that's great. But notice that Amitabha can't save us. There's no soul saving here. There's no being who says, pray to me and I will give you eternal life and you will sit at the right hand of my Father. We don't have that in Buddhism. What we have is Amitabha saying, reach for my hand, brother or sister, and I will give you a step up. And then you're on your own. We always have to do the work. The telling thing about this, though, is that in Buddhism, there is life after death and there is rebirth. Now, can I prove this to you? No. This has been argued for millennia. Is there life after death? And people have tried to prove it. People have tried to disprove it. We don't know, because once you're gone and you don't come back. But in Buddhism, we do take it as an article of faith that occurs. Now, if you struggle with this, you don't have to believe it. Remember, the Buddha said, check everything out for yourself, even what I'm saying. So if you don't believe in rebirth, that's no problem. But I'm telling you what the Buddhist official teaching is, if you will, with some variations between schools. So the idea is that we do continue, or some part of us continues. Notice that I called it rebirth, not reincarnation. They're different. I'm getting a nod of approval from Tom. Thank you, great student. He was wondering if I was going to make that point, weren't you? Yes. So reincarnation would be that I, Myodo, come back exactly as I am in my personality. I love red carnations, so my next life would love red carnations, and there would be certain things like that would continue, and my basic personality would remain intact, and maybe I would even be able to remember, at least subconsciously, some of what I learned in this life. Rebirth, on the other hand, the only thing that really continues is your karmic seeds. In Buddhism, we call this the alaya, or the storehouse consciousness. We've got all these different consciousnesses, and I don't want to get into all of that. Some of them we talked about in the chanting that we did to the Prajnaparamita. In that teaching, it mentions the eyes, ears, nose, etc., and those all have their own consciousnesses. But the storehouse consciousness is where our karmic seeds are stored. And that's what continues, not our personality. In this life, I love dogs. In my next life, I might be a bird person. Who knows, right? I might have a different gender, 50-50 shot having a different gender, could have a different race, might not even be human. If I screw up too badly, according to Buddhism, there's no permanent hell, but there are some temporary ones. And I could spend some time there to kind of burn off my karma, to pay my debt to society, if you will. And then when that's done, then I get another birth somewhere else and I have another opportunity. So that's the idea with Buddhism. But it's also a matter of when we pass on, we have that journey through the bardo. And this is an opportunity for growth. The bardo isn't really a physical place so much as it is a psychological state where that mind consciousness, that those karmic seeds are traveling through. And it's supposed to be this big, horrifying, terrifying place. But if you realize that it's all an illusion, boom, you're golden and you just pass on through and it's not a big deal to you. But some people get frightened because they don't know that it's all an illusion. And again, do I know any of this to be a fact? No, I haven't been there. So I don't know. But the belief is that that's kind of another opportunity to have some growth and to have some realizations before we then are reborn wherever we're going. So it's one last bite at the apple, if you will. If we've really screwed up and we're destined to go to one of the Buddhist hells or be reborn as a lower animal, and then we have some aha moment while we're in the bardo and we hold on to it, then that can benefit us. So that's why we consider the passage through the bardo to be important, speaking from a cosmological point of view. Now let me tell you why I think it's important from a sociological, psychological point of view. The journey through the bardo supposedly takes 49 days. Again, we don't know who came up with these numbers. Why is 108 so important? I don't know. And I've done research on this. Nobody knows. So it's 49 days. And the main memorial celebration for the deceased is held on the 49th day. Not right away, not a few days after like we do in the United States. We're in a hurry to put people in the ground here, man. 3 days, in and out. We want them through the funeral home, through the funeral, at the gravesite, and shovel the dirt on top. Nobody's ready to say goodbye. Nobody's ready for that in any culture. That's too soon to say goodbye. So people say goodbye, but then the grieving process goes on for a lot longer. You wait 49 days, and I've done a number of memorial services in my time as a priest. And by the time you get to the 49th day, the wound is no longer bleeding. It's not healed. It's far from healed. But at least there's a bit of a scab there, and it's not so raw. And people can actually talk about their loved one and tell stories about them that make people laugh and make people smile and bring some joy and some happiness. So I think the 49-day part of it is as important as anything. And it doesn't have to be exactly 49 days, by the way. And how do we get around this? Buddhism is very clever. Time doesn't flow the same way in the bardo as it does here. So if the 49th day falls on a day when your Buddhist priest is busy and can't do the ceremony, that's okay, because they'll get it right? So that, hey, folks, we're human beings. It's just one of those things that kind of got invented and came along. But having some sort of memorial at that point can be very, very helpful for the grieving. Both of my parents are interred in Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. My father was a Purple Heart winner, and my mom is buried with him. And when each of them died, there was a delay because you're dealing with the government. And it was a couple months, 6 to 8 weeks, 49 days would be 7 weeks, between when they died and we reported it and when they were actually able to have the body shipped and then have the graveside service there and inter them. And it worked out to be just perfect, because lots of family has had time. First of all, you have time to make your travel plans, which is important in this day and age. Lots of family gathered from all over, and we were able to have that kind of joyful celebration that we could not have when they first passed. So that's something that I think is nice out of Buddhism. Buddhism also offers, if you want to have memorial services on the first anniversary of the passing, the second and third anniversary, the 5th, the 10th, and then every 10 years after that. So if you want to keep the memories of the departed alive and honor them, then that's something that's available and that can bring people a lot of peace. So I've done that for each of my parents. The other part that I want to express is this. We have this view that we're all separate, that I'm over here and you're all over there on Zoom. Buddhism teaches us that we're actually all connected. We might not be able to see the threads connecting us, but at the deep level of absolute truth, we are all part of one whole. Shinryu Suzuki described this really well with the analogy of the waterfall. We're all the river, one being, we're all in it. We come over the waterfall, and you know how waterfalls tend to spray? Think of Niagara Falls, and there's all this mist. And now my little droplet that somebody decided to label Myodo, that somebody being my teacher, Wanji, I'm over here. And I go, oh, hi, little droplet Tom, I see you over there. Oh, hi, little droplet Melinda, I see you over there. And you go, oh, hi, Myodo, I see you over there. And we forget that we were connected just a moment ago. So that's like when we're born and we fall over the waterfall and we have this long fall through our whole lives and we hit the river again and we become part of the river again at the moment of death. So that journey through the bardo, there can be that opportunity for that connectedness and that realization that we're not separate. That's what we talk about with emptiness. In the Heart Sutra, there's all this form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. What the hell does that mean? Emptiness is expressing in the negative because that's how Sanskrit works. We would express it in the positive and say everything's connected. They would say everything's not unconnected. So it's kind of a linguistic difference. Like Jesus said to love your brother as yourself. And I think it was Confucius who said, don't do anything to someone else that you would not want done to you, because he was speaking in Chinese. So he put it all in the don't do. Jesus was speaking in Aramaic and put it in the do. So it's, we got these linguistic issues. So don't get hung up with this word emptiness. What it's pointing to is the fact that we are all connected, that there is no separation. That's the root teaching. And that's what I want you to take away from the great work of life and death, is that we're all connected. Life does go on in some form. This is my heartfelt, earnest belief. I don't have the science for you, and I don't like telling you, you must believe this if I don't have the science. So I'm not going to. It's your mind. You make it up how you see fit. But for me and for traditional Buddhists, we believe in this, that there is life after death, and we're all connected. So will we see our loved ones again? We very well may, because we're traveling around the wheel of life, death, rebirth. And as we're traveling around this wheel, there's other people traveling around the wheel, and maybe they're traveling at roughly the same speed we are. So we kind of have like little cohorts that we see from time to time. Will we recognize them again? Maybe, maybe not. I have run into people in this life who I believe I have known in past lives. But my personality is not the same. Their personality is not the same. So that's okay, because our personality is not who we really are. Our personality is just a collection of likes and dislikes. I like dogs, marginally better than cats. I really like cats too. But that could change. Next time, I might not like animals at all. The Dalai Lama doesn't particularly like animals. He doesn't understand the point of pets. I think he's missing out, but that's my personality. That's not who I am. I am not the job I have. I am not the car I drive. I am not my favorite color. I am not the music I listen to. All of that is just like the clothes that I'm wearing, and it does not matter. and it all falls away in death. And isn't that wonderful? Because then we get a clean slate, we can begin again, and we have that realization that none of that matters. You think a baby cares? Feed me, wipe my behind. That's all the baby wants. That's it. There's a lot of purity in a newborn. They haven't yet learned to have opinions on things. It's even a little while before they spit out the food they don't like. Not too long, but a little while. Initially, they'll take it all, right? So we get to have that opportunity to start over and to try not to get caught up in dualism. I like this, I don't like that. Because every time I have a preference, there's a dualism implied. If this is my favorite color, what about all the other colors? If I like this kind of car, what about all the other cars? So I'm creating all this separation when I do this stuff. So when all that falls away and the personality is gone and there's just the karmic seeds, that's the core of who we really are, is our karma, the actions we make, the ethical decisions that we make in each moment to moment to moment. That's who we are. That's where the rubber meets the road, my friends. That's the core of our being. That's when we ask that was one of the great questions. Normally we say, what is this? You can also ask, who am I? I am my karma. That's who I am. I am the sum total of every decision I've ever made, good, bad, or neutral. So let's go forward and make some good decisions, clear our karma, have good karmic streams. If you don't believe in rebirth, it'll still help you in this life, but I believe it will also help you in the next. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for a great talk.
Thank you. And Tom, I got your message. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, if there are no questions, then let's sit for a few minutes.